It's generally worth setting up remarketing. Unless you've got a very small amount of traffic, it's generally going to be worth running a remarketing campaign. So remarketing is when you advertise to people who've been on your website but didn't convert first time round. So it's advertising on the display network, so placing ads on websites around the internet, but targeting people based on the fact that they've been on your website recently or in a particular time frame, or maybe they've viewed particular content on your website. So there's two ways of customizing your remarketing audience. You can do it by time period, so people who were on yesterday, people who were on in the last week, people who were on in the last 3 to 6 months. You can customize it by content views. Isn't always that helpful, to be honest, because people can view different pages and different categories on your website. But if you want to run a remarketing ad to someone who looked at compound bows, then that probably makes sense. So the way that you set this up is you need to come into shared library audiences and you need to set up remarketing. If you have an e-commerce store, what you can do is you can set up something called dynamic remarketing. Dynamic remarketing only works if you have a Google Merchant Center product feed. But what will happen is that depending on the product someone last viewed on your site, Google will show them that product in the display network ad that they see. So it can work really well. So that's probably beyond the scope of this video. I'm only going to show you very quickly how to set this up today, but it's worth knowing what dynamic remarketing is if you have an e-commerce website. Otherwise, what you need to do is you need to come to set up remarketing, and Google will ask you where they should send the tag information. So put in your email address. And what Google will do is they will email you the remarketing tag that needs to go on your website. So they haven't detected it yet because I haven't added it. And there's information on where that needs to go. So basically, as of right now, when I record this, the tag needs to go above the closing body tag in your page source. So your friendly web developer or website manager should be able to add that in, send them the code, get them to add it. What you need to do then is you need to start building your remarketing audiences. So by default, Google create one called All Visitors, and this is 30 days. So you need to think about what audiences you're going to want to create. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. You've got normal remarketing audiences and something called a custom combination. So we might have a 30-day audience. What I tend to do, so I'll normally create a remarketing list for people who've been on more recently than that. So what you need to do is you need to think about your buying cycle and how long it takes people to realistically make a purchasing decision. If it's months and months and months, then you're going to want quite a long membership duration. If you're selling something fairly straightforward and people make a decision, then you want this to be a lot shorter. So let's say, for example, that we're going to have all visits 30 days. I tend to put the duration in the remarketing list name. So not 30 days, we've already got that. So 7 days. And then this is going to be any visitor that visited any page URL contains /. So that's any page where the tag is on, basically. Membership duration 7 days. And you can put a description on here too if you want. So let's save that one. So you might want to create different audiences for people who viewed different content on the site. So for example, let's create another remarketing list call this compound bows, 180 days. The maximum remarketing duration you can set is 540 days, although that assumes that in that period the visitor doesn't change their browser, change their device, or delete the cookies from their browser. So we might want to add anyone that visits any page on your site that includes the URL compounds. So URL contains compounds. Okay, you probably going to want to create a remarketing list of people who have converted so that you can exclude them from your remarketing audiences. So let's say that someone does make a purchase or an inquiry on your site. So let's put one so converted. Oops. Converted visits, 540 days. So, you know, if someone does convert, we don't want to show them remarketing ads. Or we might want to show them remarketing ads, but we might want to show them different remarketing ads that try and cross-sell them or upsell them something else. So it might be that you do want to run remarketing ads to them, but maybe you want to run different remarketing ads to them. 540 days. And then this is going to be your thank you page or your confirmation page or your order confirmation page, for example. What I might want to do then is I might want to create a custom combination of all visits in the last 7 days that excludes anyone who converted. So what I'll need to do is, in this case, create a custom combination. This is all visits, no conversions, 7 days. So any of all visits 7 days and none of converted visit 540 days. So that's saying that this is a custom combination, so everyone in the all visits 7 days audience but none of the converted audience will be in this list. So this is quite useful because we can start to mix and match different remarketing audiences to really show people more relevant ads. That's as far as I'm going to take this little demonstration. There is more that you can do that's probably beyond the scope of this. For example, you can add people to a remarketing audience who've watched your videos on YouTube. That's something that you can do now. It can work quite well if you have videos that get quite a lot of views on YouTube. That's probably the subject for a strategy session if that's relevant to your business. And the remarketing runs quite deep in terms of what you can do. You can create remarketing audiences in Google Analytics, so you know people who've spent or done certain things on your site or viewed a certain number of pages, or so you know, if this is going to be important to you, it probably is worth following up. But you know, as a sort of basic outline, this should be enough to get you going. What you'll need to do later on, so this will start collecting people in the audience. What you'll need to do then is you'll need to come back to your. Let's go to my accounts. What you need to do later on is you'll then need to create a new campaign, display network only campaign, and set the type as remarketing. And then each ad group, you'll have one targeting criteria per ad group you create. So let's give it a budget. Another thing that I normally do on these campaigns is I normally limit. So what you can do is you can put a cap on the impressions. So you can limit the number of times a day or a week that people see these ads. So what that stops from happening is that it stops you from creeping people out. So it's quite important that you do add a frequency cap. I would set it about 2 impressions per day per ad group, but you can change this if you like. So let's save and continue. And then in the ad group, so the ad group will be your targeting criteria, so all visits, no conversions, 7 days, set a bid. The bid will generally need to be higher than your other display network campaigns if you're running them, so you'll generally set a bid that's probably more approximate to your search network bids. Select the targeting criteria that you want. So we created a custom combination. I've gone into a different account now, but it would be listed here. And that's how you go about doing that, basically. If I add that in, you generally don't want to let AdWords find new customers. You really want people to only be in your remarketing list. And then you kind of finish this process here and skip the ad group creation, but well, what that does then is, well, that's then set up the remarketing campaign, and it's set up the ad group, and it's now asking me to create some ads. What I do is I generally set up a separate ad group for text ads and a separate ad group for image ads. You'll generally find the image ads to be better. The best image ad size to use is 300 pixels wide by 250 pixels tall. They get the most impressions. But in general, I would split out your text ads and your image ads into different ad groups within this remarketing campaign. So you can create them from here. I'm going to skip the ad creation for now and assume that you would do it later on. But that's sort of that's the basics. Hopefully that makes sense and provides you with enough to really get going with a remarketing campaign.